Okay, everyone, this is so exciting. Here we're going to be ushering in the holiday of Passover, or Pesach. Very exciting time for family, although it's a very challenging time for the world. Many people are in isolation. It's also a very unusual time in the fact that Shabbat is right before Passover, so you go straight into Saturday, into Shabbat, into Passover Saturday night. So a lot of preparations have to be done prior to Passover, prior to Shabbat, so that things can be done in a proper way. Cooking and so on and so forth. So here we're going to give you a little brief explanation of what needs to be done. I'm going to take you through the next few days. First thing is, as we're getting closer for Passover, we clean out all the chametz, the bread from all over the house. Tradition is that this coming Thursday, you do b'dikat chametz, you check through your home using a feather, spoon, candle, put 10 pieces of bread around the house, and make the blessing. Most of what you find here can be in our Passover guide on the last page right here. After 7:38 p.m., you look around, you find the 10 pieces, and there's a special prayer that said, right after that we any bread that we own that we haven't seen. We do put away some bread for Shabbat, so you're going to want to have your Friday night dinner, light the Shabbat candles, 6:55 on Friday, and after that, always good to look inside when you're doing the seder so you don't make mistakes. So I'm always going to be referencing the times here. So on Friday, at 6:55 p.m., you light the regular Shabbat candles, and you have your Friday night dinner with kiddush and so on. Best idea would be is to have it a Passover dinner, because it's the next night is already Passover, although technically you're supposed to have bread for Shabbat. So what you do is you have just everything Passover dinner besides the bread you have for Friday night, and you have a little bit of bread over outside or over some tissues, and you take that, eat the minimum requirement of bread, just 2 ounces of bread or whatever, pita, and don't let the crumbs get out anywhere, and the remainder you just flush it down the toilet so it's not in the house. Do the same thing the next day on Shabbat, on this coming Saturday. The only thing is you have to remember that you can only eat chametz at 10:56 up to 10:56 a.m. on Saturday. So that means you have to have your meal, your Shabbat day meal early, and again, Passover meal, just the bread after the kiddush. You have a little bit of bread over the garbage, over some tissues, and dump the rest in the toilet, in the bathroom. So there's no more bread left. Now on Shabbat, right before the last moment you're allowed to eat is 10:56 in Kamariyot. This is all Kamariyot time, and 11:59 the chametz has to be rid. So hopefully everyone's selling their chametz. There's a little paper here where you could sell your chametz, or you could do it online. It should be sent in before then, preferably by Thursday, and then the transaction of the sale of all the bread that's in the home, or anything leavened, could be whiskey, vodka, or different things that have from wheat base. You lock it in a closet, put a piece of sticker on it, that's a piece of tape, it's closed, and it's sold away. So or you can get rid of the chametz from your house, you can sell it, and you can eat it. That's a great way to get rid of any leavened bread. So you say a special prayer, saying one more time on the Saturday before 11:59. You say, "I hereby consider any chametz, nullified in like the dust of the earth," as you'll find in most haggadot for Passover in the beginning, and that should be done by 11:59 on Saturday. So the first seder, I know this is going to sound kind of late. Technically, we light candles Saturday night from an existing flame. And how do you do that? You have a special yahrzeit candle, 24 hours candle that you light before the Shabbat candles on Friday. And then the next night, when it comes to lighting the holiday candles, which you light at 7:51 p.m. Saturday night, you light it from a pre-existing flame. On the holiday, you're not allowed to strike a match. You're allowed to light from a pre-existing flame. And you make the blessing on holiday of Passover candles. The blessings are here on page 11 in the guide. And L'hadlik ner shel Yom Tov and Shehach Yanu. And after 7:51, people have a service, they do this services, that's when the seder can begin, after 7:51. When I say begin, that's when the official first cup can be drank. You can have the first cup and prepare the seder plate and so on. What is the seder plate going to have? So first of all, what are you going to need for the seder? You're going to need to have a haggadah, whatever version it is. I have this specific haggadah, which is a beautiful one, has little tidbits. Haggadah, you're going to want to have matzah, and preferably the shmura matzah, the round shmura matzah. You're going to want to have that. And because the matzah gives you faith, says the Kabbalah, for all year, the first night, and it gives you health the second night. So you want to make sure you have handmade matzah. We have plenty. We're giving out hundreds this year. Want to make sure that you're able to get your handmade shmura matzah, at least for the seders, to eat that as your seder matzah. And then you're going to, of course, want to have wine or grape juice. Here's grape juice, preferably red wine. Here's a wine called Aleph by Herzog. Rashi wine, very light alcohol, because you're going to have drink 4 cups. So you want to make sure that you can get through the day. But if it's a hard time for you to drink wine, you can definitely have the grape juice. Of course, you're going to set up your seder plate. So you're going to start off with putting 3 matzahs on top of each other. It's 3 types of Jews: the Kohen, the Israelite, the Levite, and the Israelite. And then you're going to set up, you're going to look inside you can just put a plate on top. Literally, you put this under 3 matzahs in here, and then you can set up. You don't even need a plate. You can just put a cloth, or technically you don't need a fancy seder plate. And what you're going to do is you're going to set up the items. You have a little shank bone, or in the Chabad tradition, we put a chicken neck that represents the actual Paschal lamb. You take off the meat because we don't really eat that. That can be prepared before Shabbat. You're going to also have that's on the right side. On the front left side, you can have an egg that represents the sacrifice called the Chagiga offering, but it's an egg, shows on mourning because it's round, it's the circle of life. We're mourning that the temple's not here. We don't have that sacrifice that normally would be eaten. And then you're going to have in the middle the maror, the bitter herbs, which is going to be horseradish and romaine lettuce. Again, horseradish with nothing added to it. You could grate it. And then bottom right, you're going to have the charosis, and the charosis, that is remembering the mortar that the Jews had to build with, and that is apples, pears, and nuts, and some wine that's added to it. Looks like mortar. And then you have on the left bottom, you're going to have the karpas, which is a vegetable. Usually it's our Chabad traditions, potato, an onion. Some people use parsley. That's going to be dipped in salt water. And then the bottom is called chazeres, and it's another type of same bitter herbs of lettuce as well as horseradish, and that's going to be used for the sandwich later on. So those items, 6 items on your seder plate. You have to have a cup, a kiddush cup that you're going to be using, and then you're going to be ready to start the haggadah. Again, these are items you should prepare before, because it's Saturday night. So when we make the actual kiddush on the everyone, it's traditional that everyone makes the kiddush, not just one person, as opposed to regular Friday night. Everyone says the kiddush, and in the kiddush there's havdalah, because on Saturday night you're making separation between Shabbat and the holidays. So you do look at the candles during the kiddush. You don't light a separate torch like a regular havdalah. And at the end of the kiddush and the havdalah, and they make a blessing on the candle and havdalah, you make a shechiyanu, and you recline to the left and try to drink the entire cup. The minimum is about 3.5 ounces per cup. So get small cups, that's fine. Better to drink the whole cup. But again, technically 3.5 ounces at least per cup. So that's your first cup. After that, you lean because it's a sign of freedom. That's the idea of leaning. Then you're going to go and wash your hands, and that's Kaddish. The next step is you're going to wash your hands, and this is the tradition is before you use a wet vegetable, either you can use a fork or wash your hands, and we're going to be dipping the vegetable in salt water, so we're going to want to wash our hands. We're being extra careful also to make the kids curious. As we know, the seder is a lot about the children. The word haggadah means to tell the story to the children. And if there are no children, we tell ourselves the story. But we have to tell the story to each other. The Garatala Bincha says in Exodus, teach it to your children. A haggadah also can mean thanks. Like someone that says thank you to God. That's another explanation of what the word haggadah means. So you fill up a cup of water 3 times on the right, you wash 3 times on the left, you dry your hands well, and no blessing is made. Okay, we just did the second step of the seder where we washed our hands, urchatz, or back with the haggadah. And then we have the next step is called karpas. What is karpas? At this point, you take the potato or the onion. After washing your hands, you dip it into salt water. You have prepared salt water there. And you make the blessing, borei peri hadama, and have in mind the later on, the maror, the bitter herbs that you're going to eat, which is also a vegetable. Bless you, the Lord of God, King of the universe, who brings forth fruit from the earth, because it's from the earth, potatoes or onion, and you dip that in, just a little piece, make sure it's under an ounce, and you do not lean, because this is not, leaning is a sign of freedom. We're eating this one, because this reminds us of the tears of the Jewish people. So you do not lean for this, the third step. Then you take the middle matzah out of the 3 matzahs, and you break it in 2 pieces, okay? And then the bigger one, you'll have 2 pieces that you'll have. One should be larger than the other. So the larger one, you break it kabulistically into 5 little pieces and put it away in a cloth, hide it away as the afikomen, the dessert. And the smaller one, so this one will become an afikomen. I would break this into 5. 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Take this, put it in. If you have an afikomen bag or something like that, you can hide it away. Some people hide it and have their kids find it. And Chabad custom is not to teach the kids to steal the afikomen. We don't want them to learn about even stealing for fun. The middle one you put right back in between the matzahs. So you have a whole matzah on the top, hole on the bottom, and a broken one in the middle. The haggadah, the story of the Passover, we're going to say over a broken one. It's poor man's bread. And we're going to actually say the story with that broken piece there. And we're going to actually use that for the eating of the matzah as well, coming up. But we're not there quite yet. So now that we broke the middle matzah, and that's the set called yachatz, then starts the haggadah. So before we do the haggadah, we invite everyone to our seder. We uncover part of the matzah. We invite everyone. This is the bread of affliction, we say. And whoever wants to come and eat, we invite everyone to our seder. Then we cover the matzah again. And here the children ask the 4 questions. Okay? But before we do that, we pour our second cup. We fill up our second cup of wine. Always try to fill up to the top. Better even to overflow. Cup runneth over. And the kids, the youngest, ask the 4 questions. We have a tradition that all the kids ask the 4 questions. Girls under 12, under bat mitzvah, boys under bar mitzvah. We have them all say the 4 questions. The order of the 4 questions is interesting. The Chabad tradition is why this night is different than all other nights. As you know, the joke goes, a Jew was being knighted, and the Queen of England said, you have to bow to this statue. He says, well, I can't bow. So she says, why is this night different than all other nights? Anyway, it's just a joke. So the 4 questions is why all other nights we don't dip even once. Today we dip twice. That's a custom. We dip the karpas, the potato or the onion in salt water, and we also dip the maror, the bitter herbs, into charosis. All other nights we eat chametz or matzah. Today we eat matzah. All other nights we eat all types of vegetables. Tonight we eat bitter vegetables, and all other nights we eat sitting up or lying. Tonight we only eat lying. It's interesting. It used to be they used to always lie when they used to eat. So that blessing was actually introduced later on. Those are the order of how we do the 4 questions. And if no one's there, still ask the 4 questions. And there's a Yiddish expression that the people say it in different languages. A lot of fun to have the people do it in different languages. Dad, I want to ask you the 4 questions. Really asking God, why is this night, this exile that we're in so long? It's one of the deeper explanations of that, a deeper look into that. After the Manashtana, we open up the matzah, we reveal the matzah again partially, and we start with the main part of the seder of the haggadah is we were slaves in Egypt. And we go through the haggadah on the second cup of wine, talk about the 4 sons, the wise, the wicked, the simple, the one that doesn't know how to ask. Then there's a 5th son that doesn't show up to the seder. The Rebbe introduced, so we have to make sure to invite all Jews to be at the seder, so at least they're at the table. Whether they're wise or wicked, at least they're there. And then we talk about that at the beginnings, we were actually idol worshippers. And we went from being idol worshippers in Egypt, God took us out of Egypt, and He gave us the Torah. And that reminds us, no matter what your background is, as far as what your upbringing was, we were all idol worshippers as Jews started out. And look what happened. The Torah was given 50 days later at Mount Sinai. So we don't have to worry about the background, what it was, that our upbringing. It's all about right now setting ourselves free, physically and spiritually. We raise up the cup of wine and say that in every generation, they try to destroy us, but God saved us. This God promises throughout the generations, a very powerful moment to remind us that every generation, whether it's Hitler, Inquisition, may God erase their names, there's always a pharaoh that's trying to destroy us, and God saves us. After that, we put the wine down, and we go through continuing discussing about our forefathers and how God, how they enslaved us, and God took us out with a strong hand, not through an angel, but God Himself, because an angel couldn't have done the job. He would have not been able to handle the deep, deep impurities of Egypt. It says the Jews were in the 49 levels of impurities. And even an angel would get stuck in Egypt. It was so impure. And then we go to the 10 plagues, the fun time for the kids. You can have a plague bags and you can dress up like a frog or maybe, and do the different plagues. And Chabad custom is each time you say one of the plagues, you pour out, not with your finger. Some people do it with their finger. You pour a little bit of wine and you go through the 10 plagues: blood, frogs, lice, wild beasts, deadly disease, and animals, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, death of the firstborn. And then you also pour out when you do the acronyms at the end, the tzach, hadash, b'achav, which is the acronyms of the 10 plagues. After that, goes through the details of the plagues, and we sing the Dayenu. We thank God. If God would have taken us out of Egypt and not given us a Torah, Dayenu would have been enough. We go through all the great things that God has done for us. And then we go to a very important part that you have obligated to do this part. In fact, the biblical obligation is to eat matzah and to have the haggadah. Passover, we have to mention the Passover lamb, which we don't have, but we do have the little bone, and matzah and bitter herbs. And we first start off with explaining what the Passover is. Why is it called Passover? Because God skipped the word Passover. Pesach means He jumped over the Jewish homes and He smote the Egyptians' firstborn. Matzah, then we hold the middle matzah and the bottom matzah, and we say this matzah we eat because there was not enough time for the dough to rise. And then we put our hand on the maror, on the seder plate, and we say this maror. If you pick up a piece of maror, and the 2 parts of the maror, there's 2 marors on the plate. We eat this because they bittered our life. And then we say in every generation, we have to see as if we're leaving Egypt. Egypt was not just a story of the past. Every single day we got to leave our animalistic desires and break free and do what God says. We pick up the cup, cover the matzah, pick up the cup and say the blessing that God took us out of Egypt. We say the part of the hallow, praising God. Just like He took us out, so He may He take us out of this exile and bring us to the temple. And then we say the blessing, hagafen. We lean to the left and have the second cup. Then we go ahead and rachza. We wash our hands again, 3 on the right, 3 on the left. This time we make the Untitled Chapter. We don't talk until we make the hamotzi. The hamotzi, you take all 3 matzahs, the middle broken matzah, the top and the bottom. You make the hamotzi lechem and arch, let the bottom one slip. Then you say, Asher Kedishanu, blessed you, the Lord our God, the King of the universe, who commanded us, sanctified us with His commandments, and commanded us to eat the matzah. And the one leading the seder should eat at least a kazayis, at least an olive size of the middle matzah and the top one. It's about an ounce each, about a half a matzah. Everyone around the table should try to eat at least a half a matzah at that moment, an ounce worth. You could weigh it before, but at least an ounce, and we recline when we eat it, and preferably within 4 minutes. At the longest, 9 minutes. And it has to be after 8 p.m., remember. Then, after the eating, this is the biggest mitzvah, is to say the story of the haggadah and eat the matzah. After that, we do the maror. We take bitter herbs, which is the horseradish, and the romaine lettuce, dip it into the charosis. If you haven't added wine, you should add wine at that point, a little wine to the charosis, and at least an ounce worth, and make the blessing, Asher Kedishanu, blessed you, the Lord of God, who sanctified us with commandments and commanded us to eat the bitter herbs. You don't lean. You take off a little bit of the of the charosis, so it shouldn't be too sweet. You want it to be bitter, and try to eat at least an ounce. Get red in the face and feel those tears. We have to not just talk about the difficulties, but feel it when we eat it. And then we make the first sandwich, Subway sandwich, right? Korach sandwich, according to Hillel, the great sage, that he used to eat the maror with the matzah. So then we make a matzah. We take some matzah, an ounce of matzah, which is about half a shmura matzah. Put some horseradish and bitter herbs on it, horseradish and romaine lettuce. Dip the romaine lettuce into charosis. Take off a little bit of charosis, and you make this is what Hillel used to eat. And at times at the temple, he used to also put the paschal lamb in there. We don't have that today. And eat them together with the maror and the bitter herbs and the matzah. And then you eat that leaning to the left. And then after that begins the festive meal. You begin with an egg dipped in salt water. You eat your meal, fill up, and finally you have the afikomen at the end of the meal. You're supposed to eat the afikomen, which was the paschal lamb. It represents the paschal lamb. You used to eat it on a satiated stomach. So once again, the afikomen is the dessert. Some say actually the word afikomen means dessert. And the idea is that we're eating another at least ounce of matzah. That's a half a shmur matzah, preferably 2 if you can handle that. After a whole meal, you recline to the left. You can hand a little bit of if the leader of the seder can hand a little bit of their matzah to everyone, but everyone should have this afikomen leaning to reclining to the left. Make sure you ate what you ever needed to eat, because this should be the last thing you eat for the night. You're supposed to go to sleep with the taste of matzah on your lips. And besides 2 cups of wine or grape juice, that's all that you eat. So afikomen is literally dessert, also according to one opinion. Basically, this is what we eat to commemorate the paschal lamb. So after you eat the afikomen, first night it should be done before midnight, halachic midnight. Hopefully, Camarillo, usually we don't have that problem. Then you fill up the 3rd cup and the cup of Elijah. You get a separate cup. Everyone fills up the 3rd cup. Again, fill it up. And then you do the grace after meals. Biblical commandment to thank God. Rub-a-dub-dub. Thank God for the grub, right? We're thanking God for the meal. You hold the cup. Usually when you hold the cup, you hold it in your palm with the 5 fingers. It's kabulistic. You overfill it. Cup runneth over. You do the blessing after. You make the haggadah and the blessing on the wine. You drink. You lean to the left. You drink. Try to drink the whole cup, at least 3.5 ounces, and that's the 3rd cup over grace after meals. At this point, you pour the 4th cup, and you open the door for Elijah, the prophet who comes to visit every seder, and you send people to the door with candles already lit, from the Shabbat candles, the holiday candles. They go to the door, and according to Hasidic tradition, the mystical teachings, the doors of heaven are open at that time. You can ask for whatever you want. Obviously, don't waste it on the opportunity on mundane things. Ask to be a mensch, to be a good person, to be a good yid, a good Jew. That our family should be God-fearing, our children God-fearing. And we should ask for better times for Mashiach. Elijah is going to herald in the coming of the Messiah of world peace. We should ask for that. It's a very powerful time. You say the prayer, doors closed. You come back, you complete the hallow. This is hallow is the second to the last step of the seder, praising God. Going through those steps of praising God for everything He has done for us. The end of Hallel, including the psalm that has 26 verses, which is a numeric of God's name, which is what the angels sing out to God. Hodu Lashem Ki Tov, praises God because He's the Olam Chasto, forever He's good. And you complete the end until finally you say the 4th. You make the haggadah again, drink the 4th cup, leaning to the left, and you make the after blessing on the wine or grape juice, and you scream out together. Everyone says in unison, next year in Jerusalem, L'shana haba'ah b'Yerushalayim, which doesn't mean we should wait a full year. It really means that the Messiah should come, Mashiach should come immediately, and automatically next year we'll be in Jerusalem. And that concludes the seder. So may our seder take place in Jerusalem with the 3rd temple. Amen. Have a kosher and a happy Passover to you and your family. Amen.